Hi everyone, it's Suzanne here. Today I just want to show you something that I've been doing with a batch of serviettes or napkins that I recently received in a swap we did over at the Auntie Vera and Friends Facebook group. And I have that beautiful die from Eileen Hull and Sizzix that makes the journal. So I made this journal because I'm finding it increasingly difficult to keep track of everything I'm supposed to be doing craft-wise, like somewhere to write down my ideas and things that I need to do. So that's what this is going to be for. So I've made some like dashboards or just some inserts to go in there, and with some pockets where I can store some papers and things like that. And I've just used, you can see in the background there, a piece of oversized cardstock, and that's from Daiso. It's quite thin, but it's when you cover it with the napkins, it's quite strong. So that's what I'm going to show you today. And I've used Mod Podge to attach the napkins, and I've used the matte one, not the gloss one, because the gloss one stays really sticky in Queensland. It just doesn't ever seem to dry properly. So I have used the matte one. So this sheet of card, it's 15.5 by 8 3/4. So 15.5 by 8 3/4, and I score it in 3 places. So I score it at 3.5, 7 3/4, and 12 inches on that long side, and then turn it and just score a 1/2 inch on those 2 outside flaps at the bottom, and you'll see that in a moment when I put it on the scoreboard. And that's just some of the napkins I'm going to use. So on the scoreboard, turn it onto the long side, score at 3.5, 7 3/4, and 12 inches. So here I'm just showing you that it's scored at 3.5, and then further along another 4 1/4 inches. So the inside of it's going to measure 4 1/4, and those 2 outside flaps are 3.5. Then fold them in, give them a crease. And I'm just showing there that I'm going to be cutting some off the side. But the next thing I do is just score at a 1/2 inch just up to that first score line. Okay, because we're going to use that as a little flap, and that the inside section of those 2 panels is going to be trimmed out at that 1/2 inch mark. So here I'm just ruling a line across there where I'm going to trim those middle sections out. And I also take a little wedge out of those flaps that are going to turn over as well, just so that it will fold in nicely once it's glued together. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to cut that on an angle for the pockets, and I'm just measuring up 3.5 inches from the flap, so don't count the flat part in it. So measure up 3.5 and then rule a line over to the corner, and that's going to be cut off. Okay, so now I've just got these beautiful napkins or serviettes that I'm going to take the backing off. So you just use the beautiful coloured layer on top, but to remove the backing I just use some of this painter's tape to grab hold of the layers underneath. This most of the napkins I have got 3 layers, but these ones have only got 2. And I just take the backing off and then get it ready, get it to a better size, ready to Mod Podge onto the surface. Okay, so now I have it ready for the Mod Podge. I've just got my craft mat underneath, and here I'm just showing the 2 Mod Podge. So I, like I said before, didn't use that gloss one because it just never seems to dry. So I'm trying this matte one and hoping that it works. And although napkins are very thin, you do need a good covering of the Mod Podge because you want to make sure that it is really stuck down. And yeah, so apply a good layer of Mod Podge before laying it down. Tried to keep as many lumps and bumps out of it as I could. There are a few, but it doesn't matter too much. My roller out to make sure there's no bubbles and stuff underneath. If you're going to use your roller, make sure you give it a good wash off. Also use the my heat gun to dry it. So just from the bits that I trimmed off, just adding a piece of that to those side parts that didn't get covered. The pattern doesn't match up, and I decorated these up a bit when I was done, and just, disguised that join a bit. I mean, if you don't worry about that kind of stuff, it's no big deal. After it's dry, I did put a couple of layers of Mod Podge over the top, just for protecting that surface. Okay, so now I'm just preparing the napkin for the inside of my insert folder. Just taking that backing off again and cutting it to a smaller size, ready to be stuck on. Okay, so here I'm just showing you on one that's dry just how I put this together. So just a bit of glue there on the flap at the bottom, and I use my art glitter glue for this because I know it's not going to come apart, and then I hold it down for a bit. Okay, so now I'm just showing you how I make my booklets that will go inside those inserts. So this booklet cover is 8 inches wide by just about an 8 1/4 high, and then folded in half. Of course, it's going to be 4 by 8 1/4, and I just have ordinary copy paper. I think I had 15 pages, and I fold that in half and I just pop it inside that cover and make sure the spine, the signature's right in the spine of that cover. And then with a pencil, I just mark where that cover comes up to, and then I use my metal ruler and box cutter to cut that off nice and straight, and it's going to fit perfectly into my booklet. So I trim all this off, and I find that the best way for me to do it, because my hands and wrists are not very strong, and a couple of times I've tried to do this, super fast. It doesn't work for me. I mess it up every time. I find if I just use firm pressure but not try and press too hard, just firm pressure and take it nice and steady, you'll end up with a beautiful smooth edge on your paper. Now I'm just checking that that's good and it fits beautifully. I just need to trim off a little bit up the top, and I just do it the same. Just make sure it's fitting inside perfectly, and then I put some lines where I'm going to chop that off. And again, just firm pressure, but not trying to press too hard. Just doesn't work for me. If I do try and always have a really sharp blade in my knife as well, because I find if you let it get a little bit blunt, it will chew your paper up a bit and it won't be a nice smooth finish. Okay, so now I'm just getting ready to mark where I'm putting the holes to sew my signatures together. So I've got a Tim Holtz ruler, makes it easy to find the center of your page. I mark 0 and then I mark again at the 2.5 inches. That's where I'm going to be putting my holes so that I can sew them together. Okay, so now I just fold my little booklet and press through the pages with an awl. Because I've got 15 pages, it's a bit tough, but I've seen people use their Spellbinders tool-in-one to do that job. It does the same thing. I'm just using some cotton, ordinary cotton, to sew it in, but I have doubled it up because I've got the 15 pages. I'm starting in the middle, going up to the top, down to the bottom, back through to the middle, and then I'll tie it off, making sure that I've got one end of the cotton on one side of that middle string and one on the other, and just do some double knots. Okay, it's very simple, not complicated at all to sew some signatures into a booklet. Okay, so here's my finished booklet. The front cover, I've just used a bit of texture paste, and in the end I only used 3 of the inserts and booklets because it got a bit chunky. I made a giant paper clip to go in it, And here are the three inserts that I made. So I've made some tags. I've decorated the covers there just to hide those areas there where I joined the napkins. This is the second one. Again, just made another tag to match the booklet, and I've got a 4x6 journaling card, and the blue one just used a journaling card that I had in my stash, and the last one is a blue 4x6 card, and that is that. And I pop that giant paper clip on, and it's all ready now to be used. So this other lovely one that's left over, I'm just going to make some more of the folders and create another cover, and use up some more of my napkins, hopefully. And that's it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to press that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.